Alright, hey, welcome back to Car Talks, where I rant, ramble, rave, and word about my thoughts on training, life, and fitness. And the hair is getting long, the beard is long. I tried a hairband and it looked really dumb, but I wore it anyway for a day. Not about it quite yet. But thinking a little bit about today, you have to, the only way you know that, I'm trying to phrase this the right way because it came from a conversation with a friend. I'm trying to remember how he phrased it. You only know what it's like to get burned when you put your hand in the fire, right? And a lot of that goes back to being willing to fail, being willing to test things, being willing to experiment things, right? The first person that learned that fire was hot stuck their hand in it. And I think that's one of those things that we have to consider, that we have to think about, right? Whatever it is you do, and we're gonna go more training here, right? Don't be, one, afraid to fail a lift. Don't be afraid to throw a movement in a program for a day just to see what it does physiologically for you the next day, right? Obviously, you can make some informed decisions and some educated guesses, but at some point, it's okay to experiment, right? Last night I was sitting there after my training session, and I just pulled a bench out, had a reverse hyper, and I was like, okay, what can I do with just a reverse hyper, maybe some resistance bands, a bench, and a regular strap, right? And it turns out there's a lot of things that I could do. Are all of them beneficial? Probably not, but you know what? We tried some stuff, and I think that's the fun thing, right? If we get to a point in training where we feel like we can't experiment, then we're going to stop growing, right? Because we don't learn anything new if we don't experiment. It's the same thing with failure, right? You've got to learn to fail a little bit. You've got to learn to take that weight that scares you just a little bit, right? You have to learn how to bail. You have to learn how to accept that maybe you loaded up the bar a little too much. It's okay. Failure is part of the growth process. It's part of the learning process. And in order to optimize your results, you've got to be willing to fail. You got to stick your hand in the fire because you got to feel the heat a little bit. So just some thoughts this morning. It's kind of more of a ramble, but felt just because on my mind and the whole process, and this is what this is. So, but there's something for you to think about, chew on, and until next time, we'll see you in the passenger seat.